Hello, my name is Cesar James, and I'm here with Noah. A little bit about myself: I'm a strategic advisor. I work with business owners, helping them turn the vision into a simple plan of influence and impact. And so I'm happy to be here for the third installment of a hybrid story. We're going to continue part three in the series, and we're going to have key questions for Noah.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, so fascinating the last couple of installments in the series. It's something very unique story that you have. So a quick recap. So you're 35,
Yes.
spiritual teacher for 11 years,
Yes.
and you had a unique experience that you explained before at age 20 in 2010, hybridization experience. Um, can you just, for the audience that haven't seen those yet, just a brief overview of that experience?
Yes. A brief overview. At 20 years old, I did have a hybridization experience. Some may call it a star seed experience, where I was approached and connected to by an extraterrestrial race, and that extraterrestrial being that I connected with offered itself in partnership with me for a global mission. That's the best way that I could summarize it. And if you do watch those videos, it shares a little bit about my story and the experiences that I had prior to and after that hybridization moment with the extraterrestrial race.
And I just like to touch about some key points in that video as a follow up. You talked about that you were in Virginia and you made several moves. Can you tell us geographically? You were at Virginia, then Northern Virginia, and in South Virginia.
Yes.
And then how did you come to Los Angeles? And then now where you currently reside in Hawaii?
Yes.
Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yes. I left home at 21. So after the hybridization experience in Northern Virginia, where my family still lives, I moved with my then partner to Southern Virginia, the Virginia Beach area. And we were there for a few months. And then we were guided to move to Los Angeles. So we took the infamous East Coast to West Coast road trip for those that are thinking of moving to California from the East Coast. And we took our time and we enjoyed Utah, Colorado. I was able to see parts of the country I hadn't seen before at 21. So it was a really beautiful experience, an aha of awareness. And landed in California in Covina. And that was the first place I landed when I got to the West Coast.
Now, was this in 2010?
This was in 2012.
Now you are in Hawaii.
Yes.
And which, you're in the Big Island or which I know they have several
Yes. Well,
islands.
when I first went to Hawaii in 2020, I spent several months on Maui, and over the last few years, I've developed a really beautiful relationship with the island and some community there. Then I was guided to Big Island in Hilo. And I spend a few months out of the year traveling back and forth from Big Island to Los Angeles. And I spend time in Maui when I'm able, when I'm guided.
Another thing I wanted to follow up is you talk about having your third eye awakening. What does that feel like?
For me, a third eye awakening feels like presence. It feels like allowing the pacing, the tempo of my life, my movements, even my speech, how my physical body interacts with the world around me, to follow the energy, to exist authentically in the energy of the present moment. And to, over the years, I've learned about embodiment of energy. But the awakening process, you have to allow yourself, firstly, to surrender to it, to trust it. So for me, it's the moment by moment experience of presence beyond just the physical realm, It's an energetic experience as well. So it's multisensory, and I would also say multidimensional.
And you just touched on my next question, multidimensional channeler. Can you explain to us what is exactly does that mean and how does it work?
So I use the word embodiment, and it's taken years since my hybridization, kind of an inflection point of connecting actively with an extraterrestrial being. You learn to listen deeply. And in listening deeply beyond the sound, you're getting into the energetic field. So for me, a multidimensional, multisensory experience is allowing my gates, allowing my chakra system, allowing my auric field to all flow information and just being present to receive and interpret that information on a moment to moment basis.
So do you believe that we're all capable of that?
Yes.
You do mention your Buddha method program in episode 1. Can you tell us a bit about what that involves?
It is a step by step, session by session, typically in about 12 sessions, process of learning how to connect beyond your thoughts and questions about your life, tuning more into the inner world, working with people to be that safe mirror of fully embodied energy, typically in connecting to their chakra system. So if a person is having a very heady question, or maybe they're having a very heart-based question, or maybe they're having a very technical, physical question about their body or their health, and holding space and presence in that multisensory, multidimensional way, for me, which is the portals of the chakra system spinning, being open, as healthy as you can, you're able to receive and flow that mirrored information to help someone gain or remember the clarity about themselves that they're seeking.
Interesting. And does that also involve connecting with the, you mentioned Akasha.
Yes.
The Akasha, how does that work for you? And a follow up to that, can we also access the Akasha?
You might hear the language Akashic field. And for me, it's just an abbreviation of that. The Akasha, meaning the infinite energetic expanse. Some people may say universe or universes. For some people, it's maybe even a heaven or hell experience or being in a different dimension. So when I say Akasha, it's referring to all that my soul has access to or that other beings have access to. Like picking up a telephone, it's the waves that allow us to have communication. And I believe that is our birthright. I believe that's natural. When we're not living in a filtered reality, I believe that is the essence of how we exist and communicate with each other, to have an experience where we are individuals and also a collective.
And is there a practical step by step guidance if one wanted to experiment and kind of go into that flow of learning how to access the Akasha?
Absolutely. And when you asked about the Buddha method, for me, it's really the consistency or the time that a person dedicates to self-study, self-awareness, which is going into the inner world, as opposed to the focus and sometimes the distractions of the outer world, the material world. So for some people who've been practicing meditation or a yogic practice or a breathwork practice for years, they can drop in 3 to 4 minutes into an energetic embodiment that opens up their inner world, their inner universe. And then that telephone signal can go out to maybe other worlds and other universes. But mindfulness, holistic wellness, self-care, self-love practices is what reinitiates us inward. And then if we can have group work, group think, community, holistic practices, ceremony, that is where we can then share those moments of inner reflection, inner feeling, and get that healthy feedback loop.
Interesting. Wow. You also mentioned that we all are hybridized, and it's just a matter of having an activation. Can you expand on that?
Yes, in my experience, I remember having interactions with extraterrestrial guides since I was about 5 years old. And those experiences from my remembrance were not physical memories, but they were more energetic memories of having conversation or experiences with extraterrestrials. And I do believe that in a starseed lineage or a hybridized lineage, you are either born as a hybrid with active extraterrestrial DNA strands. Some people have the experience of being incubated in a ship. We're talking a spaceship with an extraterrestrial race and then given to a human mother or implanted embryo. And so you have extraterrestrial and human DNA. In my experience, I had a psychological hybridization. And so I operate not only as Noah the human, the person, but another being operates within this body. Two souls, one body. And in my spiritual journey, being gifted the name in hyphen, Buddha, Noah, is an earnest reflection of that hybridization. Having two souls, two experiences, Arcturian and human, operating in this one physical space.
Wow, yeah. So that leads to the next part, which is I want to focus on more on the actual hybridization. It's unique is I haven't heard very much about it. I don't, but I'm sure after this interview, it's going to start to hit mainstream. But how is it different from what we heard of the walk-in?
Honestly, I wouldn't say that it's much different. I think there's a lot of different language across cultures and across time. So if you are connecting to an American experience, which is my experience, I would say that extraterrestrials, multidimensional beings, walk-ins, this would be language we understand that we've heard of. But you can go into different cultures, Navajo, you can go into different African cultures, and there are plenty of stories and plenty of language that speak to different beings. You can go into different religions, and they're speaking to different types of beings. Even as I mentioned in the last video, angels and demons, specific language that speak to a certain type of being. Someone may not want to call it extraterrestrial, but there are people in certain communities that will say, oh, you're talking about extraterrestrials. For me, it's important not to get caught up on language, but to connect to the energy, the vibration of the so-called beings that you're having an experience with. How do they make you feel? What are they saying to you? What are they asking or inviting you to do? Is it healthy? Does it support your well-being, your happiness, your ability to show up for others and yourself? Does it feel like a whole experience? Those are the kind of beings I like to be in company with and partnership with.
Yes, and I brought on the term walk-in is I've listened to it as a different experience where the current person no longer ceases to be in the body, but something else comes in. Whereas in a couple other videos, you talk about how it's a hybridization. It's a connecting of the essence and all in one, versus other stories where a person passes away or they have a close call, and then when they come back to consciousness, it's a different being, and so they call that a walk-in. So you have a very different experience that you had.
I will say, I think that's a really important distinction that you've made. For me, as a multidimensional channeler, I am hybridized with an Arcturian soul. We work together, a brother in consciousness that just happens to be a different race than human. We work together in this vehicle, this vessel. At the same time, when I am in a shamanic state, so that can be through longer periods of meditation, that can be just an instant download. You'll hear me say, the ear that hears, I'm getting a radio signal or I'm getting a telephone call. Beings are communicating with me all the time. So part of the work that I do in relationship with extraterrestrials is I've offered my body, I've offered my chakra system. You can make a phone call. So being a medium is an example of that. You have beings that utilize you to speak, to give ideas, dreams, visions, predictions. People that can tell you, your great grandmother passed away and her name was Susan. And, she used to love wearing the color blue and she used to be a school teacher. And you've never met this person before. That would be a multidimensional call. And so the vessel is receiving. So as a medium, I'm connecting with many different beings over the last 11 years, hundreds of different ancestors of humans, loved ones that have passed away, angelic beings, and extraterrestrials. So this one vessel is able to receive many different calls from many different types of beings.
So, focusing in on you talked about three beings, the Mantis, Jinn, right, and the Arcturian.
Yes.
Correct. And so, what are their intentions in terms of their in programs, and what would the average person that doesn't know what should they know?
Yeah, I get excited when you mention Mantis, Jinn, and Arcturian. It is rare to hear extraterrestrial races spoken out loud. So firstly, that's wonderful. And I can only speak for the groups that I'm connected with, to be fair, operating as an intermediary voice. Let's start with the Mantis. My experience with the Mantis, when they take me up into their ships, you're going to see in this particular group of Mantis beings, they are researchers. And when they take humans up onto their ship, they're putting them through different tests, like a jungle gym. Maybe it's certain equations. They want to see how fast you can solve them. They're studying the capabilities of the human mind, the human body, the human spirit. And so you may be in a ship with thousands of other human beings, and you're going through different challenges and courses. You might be going off into a forest on the ship, and you're hop, skipping, and jumping on different steps and climbing different things, and they're observing. You might be, if you think of like a mall, and how people go from store to store, they may stop at the food court. They may stop at a restaurant. Everyone's doing something different. Children may be in the jungle gym area. You might be getting your glasses fixed. There are plenty of different things to do at the mall.
Interesting.
When you think of a Mantis spaceship, a researcher, a researcher ship, they are putting you through many different experiences, and they are tracking each individual's progress. So their intentions are neutral, positive. They are not here to necessarily impact humanity, this researcher group that I'm connected to. They are more on assignment to understand humanity. And as a positive exchange, they will gently fine-tune certain gifts, talents, or skills and observe and notate the progress.
So, did you mention that you have experience of being on the ship? They've taken you on the ship?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Is that through a dream, or is that like a physical thing? How did that happen?
Yes, that particular experience was through a dream state. And what happens when I have a dream state experience, what makes it different than a typical dream, is you may have physical markings on your body. You may feel like you've been somewhere. There's a heaviness or weightedness of being in transport. And And then also, you will receive communications after the experience. So, as a multidimensional channeler, they're able to communicate things to validate the experience. Going up on the ship, I was walking around and observing others going through that process. The Mantis that I encountered were aware that I was a hybrid, different from many of the other humans on the ship. And so there are human hybrids and there are mostly activated humans. And so in that experience, I was able to understand how the ship operates, understand what they're doing, and also share, doing my own testing, and they're gaining information from that. One of the experiences that they had me do was to give a reading to a Mantis being. It's like walking up to a fortune teller booth and they're saying, provide a reading. I was a little confused. I started to read the being, and the being was getting frustrated and said, no, give a reading of yourself. And I thought that was very fascinating, coming out of the experience, processing, sharing with my intimate community, and having them reflect back to me. And even going through the process of asking, why would the beings want me to give a reading of myself? And what does that mean? And it was operating on a pass-fail. And so in completing the reading and passing through, that was the completion of the experience. It was the last stop of the experience.
So did you pass?
I passed. And it was interesting because I had actively frustrated this being, which is, I think, such a core memory at this point.
Tell us more about that.
Well, as someone who's been giving readings for over a decade, human to human, and the trust that people put in the experience of getting a reading, that would be the most natural thing for me to do when asked, give a reading. Just start sharing what I see and feel in sharing that energy with the person across from me. And I still tend to believe that that was a part of the observation in giving that very simple, very direct ask. How would I receive it? Where would I go with it as a channeler, as a hybrid? So it's multi-layered, but I definitely feel that I've grown from that experience. I certainly feel empowered by that experience. And I did feel, as a channeler, as a reader, an increase in my abilities to read people post that experience. So every time I have an experience with extraterrestrials that goes beyond the inner communication, and I feel I've had in the flesh, I always feel and experience a very clear uplift in some way that's tangible to me in my experience.
Wow. And so how many of these Mantis encounters, just like it occurred, how many would you say have happened or you experienced?
I have had more encounters with the Mantis than I have with Jinn and Arcturian. So my Arcturian experience is internally being hybridized and sharing this vessel with one Arcturian. And it is that Arcturian's relationship with their beings, their ship, their mission, that I can sense, feel, and get information from. With the Jinn experience, that is very different. But the Mantis, they reflect a part of my personality and the work that I do here. They're very purposeful. They are very much about being productive, and that's why they observe the productivity and the capabilities of human beings. So I would say physically, I've had more encounters with the Mantis and feel very connected to their physical presence as beings.
Just to give us some context of the timeline, how old were you when you first had your encounter with the Mantis, and is it still going on now?
Yes, it is still going on now. And my first experience that I can remember with Mantis beings that I can actively remember would be 2020, before my first trip to Maui. And there was a witness to this experience where I was half asleep, half awake. You'll hear this often, just laying in bed, kind of in that middle space before falling asleep. And I'm laying in bed, and it's like up into the ship. So my consciousness was taken into the ship, though my body was laying in bed.
Wow.
And I was taken up above the planet's atmosphere. And I was standing at an observation window looking at the planet. And I was with two beings that were appearing to be Native American chiefs. They were representing authority, shamanic authority, wisdom and experience, elders. And that is the way that I was able to receive them in that imagery and in that energy, which comes from my earthly lineage as a Taino American. And so I was with these two beings, and when I looked out at the planet, they zoomed in to Hawaii. I'd never been to Hawaii. I'd never really thought too much about Hawaii on my journey. I zoomed in on Hawaii, and they showed a Wi-Fi signal going from the Hawaiian Islands out to the world. And I knew at that point that I was going to be going to Hawaii, and the energy I received from them was a reflection of that mission or that intention, that purpose, and affirming that development in my life and those steps that I would be guided to take. And the Wi-Fi signal out to the world, it represents the vibrational frequency with which people can receive disclosure, coming from star seeds who are being guided to Maui. They are being guided to Hawaii. And the Hawaiian Islands representing the chakra system of the human body, Maui representing the heart. So they were giving me this information, pointing me in a direction. They offer positive influence in partnership with them. Now, it's always my choice where I move my feet. And that is a wonderful thing that I absolutely want people to know. You have free will. I made a decision to partner with extraterrestrial races. In exchange, my mental health is very well. My emotional health is very well. And I appreciate that support that I get from these extraterrestrial beings in exchange for where they ask me to move my feet and move my mouth and share the message.
Wow, interesting. Now, the mantis, just for the audience that may not be familiar, are those the ones that kind of look like a praying mantis?
A bit. They, in my experience, they look a little bit more like ants, large ants. In my experience, they can range from a dark brown color to a vibrant green color, and they are anywhere from 8 to 9 to 10 feet tall, and they have the large ant-like eyes, and they have the antenna as well. And they are very stoic, neutral. So when I started about the mantis, I said they're neutral positive. And I think that's also very important for humanity to understand. We don't only exist in a reality of good versus evil, but there is a whole spectrum of energy, and neutrality sits at the center of duality. The dual experience that we're seeing play out in the media, good versus evil. But the mantis come with much more of a neutral to positive energy, not hyper-emotional or hyper-emotionally connected beings, but they will use spiritual imagery to connect to and relate to the human experience, which is very much in the heart. And they are very much in the mind space of what do we need to get done? How is this useful for our race or other races we're in partnership with? And what partnerships and agreements do we have with the human race or different factions, governments, or organizations?
And they're telepathic?
Yes. Beautifully telepathic, completely telepathic. Their physical movements, from my experiences with them, are short, curt, but careful, intentional, surgical-like precision in much of what they do, but calm, because they're very organized highly organized, highly intentional, and they don't operate in the same vibrational frequency that we do, where we have fear, we have guilt, we have shame. They do not operate through those systems. And so how they show up is very different.
Interesting. And what would you say about the Jinn?
So the Jinn is a really cool experience that I have in my multidimensional connection and partnership. What I can share about the Jinn, because the Jinn do operate on this planet in partnership with different human factions. If you're looking culturally, you're looking to the Middle East. You're looking to North Africa. And there are many, I'll say, modern day kings and kingdoms that work with the Jinn. So the Jinn are highly motivated by agreements. So when you think of the genie, when you think of Aladdin and the genie coming out of the lamp represents multidimensionality. And the genie represents a Jinn, a formless being, does not require or utilize a physical body, that operates telepathically through the dream state, through visions, highly skilled in creating illusion, highly skilled in creating realms of fantasy. So they work through psychology, they work through the mind, and they also work shamanically. So to have an encounter physically with a Jinn is going to inhabit your physical body. They're going to want to visit and understand your inner world, because that is much more relevant to them than this reality. Because from the Jinn's understanding and the way they operate, this physical reality is determined by what the inner reality is reflecting. And so some people may use the language possession. When you get into religious frameworks, there are people that have experienced demonic possession. This would be a form of Jinn that is looking to execute negative purposes, steal, kill, destroy. That is very valid in our reality. There are also Jinn who are here to help heal, rebuild, repair. And those are the Jinn that I'm in relationship with. They come through vision, dream communication. They are highly psychic. They understand multidimensional timelines, and they can assist human beings in seeing through their perception, through the mind, many different pathways. So a very wealthy person in this world who maybe owns, a multi-billion-dollar company, if they are particularly religious, or they have any occult knowledge and access to occult practitioners, they might enlist a multidimensional human being to invoke and create agreements with Jinn to help them see potential pathways for their success. So Jinn like to work with human beings to see what they can create. And again, I always say, how does any particular being's words, actions, ideas, the visions they give you, the pathways they show you, how do they make you feel? And is this moving in a positive vibration to do good things?
Now, would this also be true with heads of state, presidents, and
Yes.
kings?
I would say probably less presidents, less formal government systems. This would be black ops or hidden society. This would be fraternity. This would be, we wouldn't know the names. Most people would never know the names of the individuals that have the access to the occult knowledge, and have enough access to the experiences of occult practices to even know who to call, to get someone on the phone that has those abilities, tested, proven. You will see more people giving testimony about working with demonic entities, and then giving their life to a more positive vibration and more positive beings, ridding themselves of those partnerships. And I encourage people to look in that direction. If someone is telling you that they used to cast spells, they used to worship Satan, or they used to invoke certain demons, and those demons would assist them in fulfilling the wishes of their very wealthy bosses, you want to listen to what they're saying. And I would be coming from the neutral positive aspect with the Jinn, where I can say there are very, very wealthy people in high positions of global elite power who are looking to help heal and restore the land, help heal and restore what has been stolen from particular peoples of the land. And they are using their shamanic abilities, their connection to their ancestors, and positive alchemical work with their occult knowledge to combat and counteract and overcome those negative forces. And that's a very, very central part of my personal relationship with extraterrestrial beings, is to help move through the negative framing around extraterrestrials so that we can embrace the support that they have to offer us.
Interesting. And tell us a little bit about the Arcturians.
When you say that, I go right to the root chakra, the grounding feeling of home. Arcturian for me, because I have, there's two of us in here, that is home. And what I will say about the Arcturians, what I would like people to know, is that their intentions for planet Earth are in line with how people experience the intentions of Jesus Christ. The Arcturians are known for experiencing Jesus Christ as a brother and friend. The Arcturians view Jesus Christ as a multidimensional hybridized being.
Interesting.
Coming in a human body, but embodying a multidimensional essence and abilities that are beyond the belief system of human beings. And so Arcturians love working with light. They love working with light. My first experience meditating, and I've told this story before, the beings guided me after my hybridization experience into an empty room, and I received the message, look at the light coming through the window. Sit and watch the light coming through the window, coming through the blind, so just a crack of light coming in. And the Arcturians, through my hybridization, my Buddha essence, always pays attention to light rays and light fractals. And inside of that, you can receive telepathic messages. Inside of the light rays, there is a world of energy, a world of knowledge and information. If someone stands out and looks into the sun, or has their eyes closed and they just do a little bit of sunning on the third eye, right on the forehead, 5 minutes, there's a reason why you feel so much better, why you feel so energized. It's not only the biological impact of the sun rays, it is also the information and the vibrations that are being sent to us through light rays. So Arcturians are actively hybridizing humans. They are actively bringing humans onto their ships. They operate more from the mediation space, and they operate from a space of wanting to uplift human beings vibrationally. That is a very specific intention of the Arcturians that I'm connected to. And as a hybrid, my Arcturian self is very clear about the mission to simply be an example, to work and rest as an example of what receiving, processing, and releasing positive vibrations looks and feels like, and what is the result of that effort. That is the mission of the Arcturians I'm connected to.
Interesting. And just very briefly, how do they look like?
So they have larger heads, they have a darker blue hue. If you think of a more common extraterrestrial of a gray, they are short stature, they have large eyes, but on the more positive vibrational side of existence, you have the Arcturians that are full of life, full of energy and heart. I would say almost like a distant cousin to the gray that has experienced much more positive vibration as a people, as a being.
Interesting. So before we move on, I'd like to cover the kind of like the worldly perspective. But before we go there, it seems to me that the Mantis and the Arcturians have like a mission-based perspective, or that's where they were coming from.
Yes.
What would you say that their collective mission is in partnership with human beings?
Yes, that's a fantastic question. The beings that operate neutral positive to higher vibrations of positive energy, higher dimensional spaces where they're not existing in lack and fear, their technologies and their intentions override fear state, which causes a lot of the pain and suffering on planet Earth. The shared motive and intention, like several community churches coming together, several fraternities coming together, several community organizations coming together for a mission or an event. Those extraterrestrial beings are all motivated by supporting natural, healthy disclosure and welcoming human beings into a multiracial experience. We are meant to work with, celebrate with, build with, create with beings other than human. But until human beings collectively open the door and show our awareness through our own behaviors and our own teamwork collectively, they're under agreement to simply support more with energy and some acceptable hybridization programs. But as a collective, they simply want to welcome us in. And if there are human factions and there are extraterrestrial factions that are controlling the world's present physical disclosure experience, positive beings want to do their part in eliminating the suppression. And they're bound to work to eliminate suppression through love. And so they have a very unique and particular way that they show up for human beings.
Interesting. Well, this is the first time I ever hear of a particular alien race like the Arcturians and Jesus Christ in the same sentence. You don't really hear that.
That is a win. Wonderful.
Wow.
I'm glad.
So shifting over to the collective, the more of the world perspective, at this time where you see the world, how do you see the current state of the world from a spiritual lens?
Expanding. Our access to technology and our commitment and enthusiasm to sharing our stories with each other is allowing our awareness as a human race to expand. There are negative, painful, harmful perspectives that we're all taking in and learning about, and things are being revealed that seem very negative. But there are also many positive perspectives. There are access to share, access to information. So as someone who works with neutral positive beings, I'm seeing an ascending through a spiral, ascending through a portal, awakening, expanding human experience. I am seeing more people awaken and want to live through a positive vibration and do their part, as we say. And so I'm seeing we're moving through a process where positive vibrations are more in command of the attention of humanity and are more in command of the actions of humanity. than negative beings, which is why we're seeing a lot of exposure before disclosure. Exposure of anything that's trying to suppress disclosure makes room for the illumination, the light.
And speaking of the idea of moving through, in this space, there's a lot of talk about timelines. So moving through timelines, there's a talk about how there's a split. The idea of there's a AI, artificial intelligence split, how man merges with machine, and then the other timeline where it doesn't. What is your take, and how do you, what can you contribute to that conversation?
Well, I would introduce a new race of beings to the conversation, Lemurians. So my experience with Mount Shasta is what comes to mind. When you are invited by a mountain to come visit, when you receive that message telepathically and you show up and you experience the vibration of Lemurians, there is a unique awareness that opens up. And timelines is something that Lemurians, I would say, specialize in as it pertains to timelines on Earth and timelines that Gaia moves and exists through. I would say that time travel and wielding time as a tool is language I encourage human beings to connect to. Google, watch a few Hollywood movies about timelines and see how you feel, because it's more of a remembrance and a feeling that as a human you have access to more than what's happening in the physical present. You have access to many perceptions, ideas, and timelines, experiences in time, expanded, spread out, that you can venture, you can journey. I am someone that is on a daily basis here in the present, walking through multiple timelines. There are many human beings that when they're sleeping, they are moving through different timelines. They are traveling. They are having different experiences. A great movie for this, just to conceptualize and start to connect to, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's, for me, that was a really beautiful depiction of what multidimensionality and multiple timelines looks like. For nonlinear thinkers, those would be the human beings you would want to connect to and get their perspective about timelines. Yes. When you think of time as a tool that helps create experience, create duality, pulling us away from all being one, all having the same experience now, time is a created tool to give us this dimensionality, to give us separation of perspectives, to give us movement in the space. So
that is a great movie. Our families enjoyed it very much, and they introduced the idea of doing a random act, a physical act,
yes,
and then it triggers some kind of different timeline.
Yes.
It's very fascinating.
That's what free will comes to mind, because many people are fearful, or there's been a lot of negative exposure to extraterrestrial beings in different dimensional frequencies that create their landscape of existence, where those intentions have not been positive. And when we move away from fear, we can start to just accept, okay, that's part of reality. There will, in this realm, fear exists, so there are going to be some hard things that happen. When people are fearful, we make decisions that we aren't really happy about.
Absolutely, and it seems that's by design.
Yes.
There's a lot of fear-driven events, just to kind of bring it down to the everyday, matrix fear-based events. When we turn on the news, you can look at with what's going on with ICE, right, and how they just go and kidnap random people, and how much longer do you see this happening to our society?
Well, that is an interesting question, because now we're talking about the framework of time. How long do we see this happening? When we are able to shift It's an instantaneous shift into a vibration that surpasses fear state. Fear can no longer exist collectively here. And so we're at a point in humanity on Earth where those that are most fearful are the most powerful. So that tells us where we are in space-time. That tells us what our dimensional frequency is. It is less than neutral, skewed toward the negative. This is a conversation you won't often hear, even in conscious community, because a lot of starseeds and community of awakened people, we focus on the positive. We are light and love. But in the duality, in the yin and the yang of our experience here on Earth, we exist collectively less than neutral, skewed toward the negative. So if you are someone that has a positive attitude, a positive spirit, you're always looking to move your life forward positively, know that you are contributing to moving the vibrational dial more into a positive dimensional frequency. And that's why this community of consciousness is so important.
Yes, and fear in the same conversation, there's the idea of how there's an alien influence, how they they can manipulate fear so that they can receive loosh.
It's natural, absolutely. It's nourishment of a negative kind. And so understanding that there are many extraterrestrial races that have an invested stake of access and partnerships here on Gaia, it's important to know that it is beyond a game of good and evil. And that is a part of a narrative that causes us as human beings to get stuck in duality. Good and evil. I'm fighting evil. I'm on the good side. I advocate for neutrality as a healthy first stop toward being a more positive human race. I often say, what might happen if you could actually convince an evil global leader to be less evil?
Interesting.
It's a different way of thinking about positive change when you're not bypassing the natural order of vibrational
And
frequencies.
speaking about positive change, tell us, because we're coming down with the at the time now, and I want to have a give you the space to talk about the mission-driven work, talking about the ascended path. Please tell us
Yes.
about the ascended path
Yes.
and the ministries,
Yes.
Buddha Noah Ministries.
Yes.
Tell us all about that, please.
Yeah, so I just light up because now we're moving in a positive direction. We're shifting vibrational frequencies. The ascended path is the community aligned under Buddha Noah Ministries. So just in walking my path, understanding that I'm working with beings that are sending me around the world to connect with different communities, to share this information, answer questions, be in community. The Ascended Path is a digital community that you can find on Patreon where we can share the sacredness of this mission together. And I appreciate those that have joined the mission, that feel aligned with having a positive relationship with a hybrid, and feeling open and safe to connect to their multidimensional selves.
Interesting. And so, when did you start the Ascended Path? And for those who going to also join the journey on the path, what can they expect once they join?
Yes, well, they can expect more conversations like this. It's a space where I'm able to channel and introduce different multidimensional beings and their messages. And anyone that joins can rest assured that the vibration is positive, that the intention is for healing, for growth, for abundance, for unity, just naturally educating on vibrational frequencies, awakening to make life a bit easier through the psychological journey of life, coming together to get that uplift, that empowerment, those affirmations, and be able to share that with other people.
And how would it be different from other churches or religious frameworks?
Ooh. Community is at the heart, and so I think there's a similarity in that way. But I would say working with multidimensional beings and working with self-empowerment is at the center of the Ascended Path. And so the Ascended Path community is not about worshiping anyone. It's not about pedestalizing anyone. It is about coming together and having that personal time in community to grow internally, empower self, have an understanding and awakening and awareness experience for yourself. You don't have to take anything that I or any guests or any community members say to mind or heart, but you can take what you feel and have a way to process that for your own decision making.
Wonderful. Well, that will do it for today. Thank you, Noah, for joining us, and I look forward for another opportunity to speak with you.
Absolutely. It's been wonderful. Thank you, Cesar.
Thank you.
You are here on purpose, chosen, loved, and free. This is a life of meaning. This is empowered living. Where love is our language and every moment's given. Beauty of life is the song we are singing. A peaceful heart, a grateful mind, forever shining. Buddha, know I missed you. The soul in harmony, where love becomes reality. Where love becomes reality.